Months ago, Kate Middleton stood in front of a camera and told the world she had cancer. This week, she stood on a mountainside in the rain, having just climbed 3 peaks in 24 hours. Somewhere in between those two moments, an entire family quietly rebuilt itself. That is not an exaggeration for effect. That is more or less the last 18 months of the Prince and Princess of Wales's life. And almost none of it happened the way palace statements usually describe things: grand, controlled, choreographed. It happened in hospital corridors, in mountain gear, in a garden with 2 spaniels and 3 kids who were growing up faster than anyone watching from outside seems to notice. If you've ever lived through a year where your whole family had to quietly reorganize itself around one person's health, you already understand the emotional shape of what I'm about to walk you through. Stick around, because by the end you'll understand why William and Kate turned down the one thing King Charles reportedly wants most from them right now. If you follow the royals seriously, hit subscribe, because this is the kind of story that gets buried under gossip when it actually deserves attention. Start with the year that broke the routine. In January 2024, Kate underwent planned abdominal surgery. Weeks later, in March, she recorded a personal video message revealing that tests conducted after that surgery had found cancer. She never specified the type. She still hasn't to this day. What she gave the public instead was honesty about the process itself, chemotherapy, months away from any public appearance, and a plain, unguarded admission that it had been the hardest stretch of her adult life. William, during that same period, stepped into a role most future kings never have to publicly occupy: primary caregiver and buffer, managing both a recovering wife and 3 children who still needed school runs and normal weekends while the world speculated outside the gates. He kept most public commentary to a minimum. He canceled events without lengthy explanation. That restraint, in hindsight, reads less like evasiveness and more like a father trying to protect a version of childhood his kids could still hold on to. Then came January of this year. Kate announced she was in remission. Most people handed that sentence would quietly retreat into normal life and let the recovery happen privately. Kate did something almost the opposite. Just under 18 months after that remission announcement, she signed up for the National 3 Peaks Challenge, climbing the highest mountains in England, Scotland, and Wales back-to-back, inside a single 24-hour window. Ben Nevis, Scafell Pike, Snowdon. No shortcuts, no royal convoy waiting at the summit. It's a brutal physical test even for people who've never spent a year fighting cancer. Thousands of feet of elevation change, exhausting drives between mountain ranges, eating into what little sleep there is, legs giving out somewhere around the second climb. She finished it. For the Royal Marsden Cancer Charity, the same hospital network that treated her. Sit with what that actually required. Not just the fitness, though that's real enough on its own, the decision behind it. Somewhere in the last year and a half, a woman who had spent months explaining to the public why she couldn't be photographed decided that the next chapter of her story wasn't going to be about what cancer took. It was going to be about what she could still do in public on her own terms. That's the detail most headlines skip past entirely. While Kate was rebuilding her physical strength, William was rebuilding something else: the family's public rhythm. Royal commentators had noted earlier this year that the couple would likely return to joint engagements whenever possible, acknowledging that things had changed and recovery would take real time. That patience showed. Through the spring and summer, William and Kate started appearing together again, deliberately, and often with the kids in tow rather than at a careful distance. In July, Wimbledon became one of the clearest signs of that shift. Kate presented the women's trophy one day, then returned the next with William, George, and Charlotte for the men's final. The family seated together in the royal box like it was simply where they belonged, not a rare engineered appearance. That's a small thing on paper. In context, it's enormous. A mother who'd spent the previous year mostly out of public view, sitting in one of the most photographed seats in British sport with her 2 eldest children beside her. The kids themselves have quietly become their own story this year. George turned 13 this month, a teenager now, no longer the small boy the public first met at his christening. Charlotte, 11, has developed the kind of sharp, observant public presence that royal watchers increasingly compare to her grandmother, Princess Diana. At 8, remains the family's most unfiltered personality, the one who still treats royal events like genuine fun rather than duty. In late July, William and Kate posted a summer rewind carousel on their official Instagram, casual photos spanning George's birthday, family outings, and a shot of the couple lying in the grass with all 3 children and their 2 cocker spaniels, Orla and Otto. That image, originally taken in April to mark William and Kate's 15th wedding anniversary, said more than any formal portrait could. After everything the family had absorbed over the previous 2 years, the message wasn't grandeur, it was res. It was ordinary. And after the year they'd had, ordinary was the achievement. Here's where the story widens beyond just William, Kate, and the kids, because this year hasn't just been about recovery. It's also been about a family quietly deciding what kind of family it wants to be going forward. According to recent reporting, King Charles has been pushing for reconciliation with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, hoping to heal a rift that's now stretched on for years. Insiders cited in that reporting claim William and Kate are not ready to follow the king's lead, that the couple reportedly believes trust has to be rebuilt before any relationship can be. That account isn't confirmed on the record by the Wales household itself, so treat it as reported insider claims rather than settled fact. But it lines up with a separate report from earlier this summer, which claimed Kate had actually been the one privately encouraging William to at least meet with Harry, Meghan, and their children, Archie and Lilibet, during a UK visit, with William reportedly still undecided. Put those two threads together, confirmed events on one side and insider claims on the other, and you get a family that looks, from the outside, remarkably normal for people whose lives are constitutionally extraordinary. A father managing his own boundaries around a strained relationship with his brother. A mother who, even mid-recovery, was apparently the one pushing for connection rather than distance. 3 kids who mostly just want a normal summer. None of this is scandal. That might be exactly why it matters. For years, coverage of this family has swung between crisis and fairy tale, with very little room for the version that's actually true most of the time, which is a family managing illness, growing kids, a strained relationship with an estranged sibling, and public duty, all at once, the way any family manages hard years, just with cameras outside the gate. Kate has never disclosed what type of cancer she had. She's never sat for an interview walking through the specifics. In an environment where public figures are expected to narrate every hardship into content, she chose the opposite path: controlled disclosure, then quiet, then a mountain, and let that speak for itself instead of a press tour. If you've ever had a stretch in your own life where just returning to normal felt like the real victory, you already know exactly what that mountain represented. And it had very little to do with altitude, so here's where this actually lands. William and Kate spent the last 2 years absorbing about as much as any family reasonably can: a cancer diagnosis, a slow and public recovery, a father quietly holding the family together, 3 children growing up faster than any of us are tracking, and a wider family rift they still haven't resolved on anyone else's timeline but their own. And somehow, the version of them that's emerged on the other side isn't smaller or more guarded. It's steadier. If you've been following Kate's recovery in this family's year, tell me in the comments which part of this actually surprised you. I read every single one.